Hello, traders. A lot of people have been asking me to talk more about pump and dumps, scanning for them, and how to take advantage of them. So today's video, we're going to be covering pump and dumps. Be very, very careful whenever you engage in these kinds of activities. And the strategies I'm going to be showing you guys today is not participating in them, but rather taking advantage of those who do participate in them. But with this kind of topic, proceed with extreme caution. Okay, so PumpOlymp or PumpOlymp, I really don't know how to pronounce the site. They provide data for various pump and dump groups and also various pump and dumps that do occur. The largest pump and dump group that I know of is Big Pump Signal. I don't know why I can't talk today. They have a very, very large community. They have 152,000 subscribers. So what that means is that, and also if you look at how many people actually read these messages, like take a look here. This was a few days ago, and 133,000 people saw this message when it was posted that PNT was going to be pumped. And watch what happened to the price of PNT. Yeah, PNT went crazy. I think this is like at least 10 times. Yeah, this is like what 12 times pump. So how do we take advantage of this? Well, the reason why I'm highlighting PNT and not highlighting anything else right now, because there's plenty of other coins that have been pumped before. Typically, these communities, what I've noticed is they don't like to post coins that you can short. And they probably do that for, they basically want everyone who knows about this to be buying and not be selling it, so it wouldn't really make much sense to have a lot of people who are shorting it. But this is one of those coins that you can actually margin short on Binance. The other two coins I'm going to show you guys after this, you cannot. So with this, we could potentially actually short this, but shorting this would be very, very, very risky. So you might be wondering, well, if I'm going to margin short this, which already is incredibly risky, how exactly do we go about doing that? Well, as with most things, let me go to the 3 minute to show you guys. As with most things, there's really no perfect way to time a pump and dump short. And again, that is incredibly risky to try to be shorting this because you could get liquidated in seconds. But what I do notice though about pump and dumps, almost always, of all the pump and dumps that I did research on this date today, before I made this video, I was looking at dozens, and then I was also looking at some other market research that I could post. Almost always, there's just one wave within a few minutes. So what that means is there's that first one wave of buying, and then it all just dries up. And then you kind of get something that looks a little bit like this. And you're going to see the same exact patterns happening time and time and time again. So I think that maybe potentially one of the better things to do would maybe be to, and this is not financial advice, of course, but would maybe be to margin short like 2x only. Nothing crazy. Maybe 3x if you want to be like really risky, but do use a stop loss, of course, and do that after the first wave of buying is done. How do you know if the first wave of buying is done? You get a candle that looks like that, where the candle like goes up, spikes, and then you get the first red candle. Typically, what I've noticed almost always is that the price just doesn't go back up at all. Really, it's because the first wave of buying is everyone who would have bought already did buy. So demand is being completely sucked out of the market. That's why this is typically one of the better shorting opportunities. And if you do have margin trading available on Binance, then this is something you could do, hypothetically. And the time to short would probably have been about around 2103. And you would have had to, be able to sustain some down. Literally can't talk today. I've been looking at pump and dumps like way too long. It's just like it sucked the English out of me, or the ability to actually be verbal. What was I saying? Yeah, you have to be able to sustain some drawdown because this does get quite wild. But another way you could actually do this is you could do 4 tiers of shorting. The first tier is like market. You hit it immediately. Let's say for example you have $10,000 and you're ready to go big on this kind of strategy. Well, what you can do is, let's say you want to be using $30,000, so you're borrowing 20K, 3x margin short. Well, when you do that, you could do, for $30,000, you could do 7,500 immediately market short, you hit it. and then 5% higher, let's say you do another limit sell for 7,500, then 20% higher, another limit sell for 2,500, then 10% above that, another another 7,500. Each of those are 7,500, equating your position of $30,000. And what will probably end up happening is maybe like 2 of them fill, so you're left with a short of, let's say, about $15,000 by my math, half. And if you short with 15K, like right here, I mean, that's going to be like tremendous profit. If you could actually like get that to work, and then the price goes down like 70% after you short, 70%, I mean, this is just kind of like moon math at this point, but that's like a $10,000 profit on a $10,000 short. So you'd essentially be doubling your money, but not doubling your money the way that most people try to on pump and dumps, which is to buy early and then wait for it to pump, but trying to take advantage of the people who are going to be bag holders and who are going to be selling, slowly shorting, and then just taking advantage of that. Now the thing about this though is that other people do know about this. This is not the first time that this has been said of what I'm telling you guys. So your edge is really going to come from enough lambs being prepared for the slaughter. What I mean by that is, I know by making this video, I'm making that kind of counterintuitive, but let's say that we have 134,000 people who will buy within 2 to 3 minutes on the coin, right? And then we only have 500 people who are going to do this kind of strategy of trading against them by shorting with margin. That kind of ratio will be great because we have 134,000 kind of like fools who just buy it up, buy. They keep hitting the market buy, like buy everything, and then they whoop, they buy the very top. And then the 500 people who are a little bit more adept at this, they short. I would put really good money on the 500 people actually being able to make a lot more money than the 134,000 who saw that message, as you can see here. So yeah, so that is one where you could actually short PNT. But with coins you can't short, it's a little bit tougher, but let's go look at Sky BTC. You can't short this unless, I bet you someone in the comments is probably going to give me some way to get bearish exposure on these coins. Okay, so Sky BTC, we had 128K people see this, right? And this was, I think it's going to be pretty obvious. Yeah, there she is. So what happened here, I think this one was even crazier pump. So this is a 2,000% pump, so like 20x. We were going from like 2,500 to like almost 50K. Just absolutely insane. Now this one is a little bit tricky because what we end up seeing is we see the initial first phase of the pump, and then we get a little bit of bullishness, and then price just never returns again. If we go on the 5 minute, yeah, I think the 5 minute's going to show this a lot better than the awkward 3 minute. Oh, here she is. So yeah, so here we basically just get a basically more of a prolonged wave of buying, because with the other coin, what we saw was like only like 2 to 3 minutes of buying. Here we see like 4 to 5 minutes of buying. And you might say, well, when's the time to know that price is going to fall, that wave of buying is over? Typically, the first wave of selling, like what you're looking at here, price doesn't really tend to, if there's a strong wave of selling, it tends to trap all the guys above. So what that means is that typically price doesn't like sell down and then go right back up on a second wave of pumping, because that wouldn't make much sense, because there's probably more supply in the market than demand, because of everyone who had bought are now bag holders and they have a lot of supply. Demand's kind of been sucked out. So getting a second wave pump is just tough. But don't let me discourage you there if you are a bag holder, because I have something to show you from a different pump group that I saw. BRD gets pumped like literally every few days. Like you can see here, these are pumps. These are not like just random fat fingers. These are people who are deliberately pumping the price in like doubles each time. I mean, like, look at this. So it's not like there are no second waves, but what I'm saying is almost always when a pump does occur, it kind of just, that's kind of it, like especially this one. This is what you typically see, where it just like price pumps and then price just goes right back down. Now, are there ways to take advantage of, let me go back here. Are there ways to take advantage of getting, somehow getting bearish exposure to a coin that's in a pump and dump? I think that there are probably maybe lending platforms or borrowing platforms where you could borrow a coin and then sell it. Classic shorting, with spot. You borrow a coin, you sell, and then you try to buy back cheaper. I bet you that there are some platforms out there who do that. And I would love for people in the comments to tell me, hey, so if, Sky BTC on Binance, you can't margin short it. But hey, look at this platform here that's trusted. Maybe, you can borrow it on, I don't know, Celsius, or borrow it BlockFi, something like that, and then borrow it and then immediately be able to get bearish exposure with a fair liquidation price and to do it safely. Then you can start betting against these kinds of retail traders who just bag hold this for the rest of their lives, as depressing as that sounds. All right, so now let's go to the most recent one, which was Vibrate, VIB. And I think this one has pumped multiple times. Let's see. Typically, you can just go on the 1 hour and just see that way. Pretty sure this is pumped. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's the big like kahuna there. But there have been other like mini pumps. But the one I care about the most is this one. And you get the same exact pattern that happens like literally every time, where price just... Okay, that pump is... No, it's not too insane, like 6x. So what we got here was how many people saw this? Let's see. We have 105,000 people seeing this. So definitely the most popular was that PNT with 134K or 133K people watching it. 105K eyes on this. And with 105K eyes, we have 195 mil VIB traded. Oh, good Lord. 195 mil. And before it was like 45,000, 15,000, 84,000, 123,000. Oh, 195 million VIB. Like, it's just so inorganic. Now, if you had gotten bearish exposure somehow here, then, that would have been quite nice. Now, another thing that I want to talk about, let's say that we have no ways of getting bearish exposure to some of these coins that are being pumped, and we also don't want to participate in the pump themselves. What's a typical thing that we can do to take advantage? Another thing that you can do to take advantage of pump and dumps is take advantage of common stop loss areas that large pump and dump groups are going to put. So think about it this way. If you are a very, very average new retail trader, and let's say that you buy at like 300 right here, or you buy at like 250, and you don't want to lose everything because you're scared of that. So you're typically taught to put your stop loss right below local support. So where do you think a lot of people are going to put their stop loss? Literally right below support, or just right below 100. Because doesn't it make sense in your head, price pumped after this, but it would probably make sense in a lot of people's heads to put their stop loss right below that 100 round level. It's also like right below support. Perfect. So I will bet you there are just so many people who put their stop loss like just below support. The 105K people saw this, and let's say that 20K participated. I would say maybe at least like 3 or 4K random, but like maybe like 3,000 people are going to put their stop loss around the sub 100 level and around the right below local support. So what that ends up doing is, let's go look at the price action after price falls back down from grace. It immediately just triggers it right here. It triggers all of their stop losses like really, really quick. Where is it? Right here. Yeah, this is where we pierce 100 and we get 6 mil traded. So this does make sense. You can see after that kind of volume kind of goes away a little bit. And the reason we had 6 mil traded here is because we hit everyone's stop loss. Yeah. And then price looks like it just couldn't really go anywhere. It just didn't do anything after that. Volatility just kind of shrunk. As you can see here, just nothing happened basically. So there are some strategies you can use to take advantage of, sorry for the constant like auto scaling. I'll turn off auto scale anyway. There are some strategies you can do to take advantage of this. They're not always great. But one thing that you could do is, if you know where a lot of people are going to put their stop losses and you're long-term bullish on this asset, you have 2 options. One of them is really scummy, one of them is not. The non-scummy option is just you wait for a lot of people's stop losses to be hit, you wait for that sell-off to get high volume, and then you start to buy, because you know that it's basically a pump and dump has just occurred. A lot of people are putting their stop losses right below support in round numbers, and you know that when they get flushed out, the price is going to have a better chance at rising than not. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive or scummier, you could try momentum ignition. That's something where you see price beginning to approach, let's say, the 100 Satoshi level. Let's say it's trading at like 115. You begin to sell off 2 million, 3 million of vibrate like a piece every 5 minutes or every like 4 or 5 minutes. You keep depressing the price. You keep hitting sell until you get it below 100. And then once you do that, you know, because thousands of people put their stop losses probably just below 100, you can pick up the coin really cheap. Pick it up in the 80s, pick it up in the 90s, and then long term, you probably have a much better position than what you would have gotten if you hadn't done that. So that is really another way that you can take advantage. I would do not do momentum ignition. I mean, you probably don't even have the capital if you're watching this to pull that off. It's illegal. Just don't do it. But yeah, but what you could do is, instead of actively doing it passively, you know, waiting for a bunch of retail stop losses to be hit when you know that there are a bunch of retail traders who are putting their stop losses at similar price points, waiting for the majority of the crowd to get flushed out to give you good medium-term to long-term entry points. So let me recap a few of the strategies we've talked about before in this video so that you guys remember something or aren't just swept away by the beauty of all the pump and dumps. First step, let's go to PumpOlymp. This is completely free. You can find a bunch of pump groups here and some pump groups here. Please, guys, I would not follow these pump groups of what they're saying. And I would not recommend buying VIP access to these pumps. I am just not in favor of these pumps, but what I am in favor of is getting access to the information of what they're pumping, how they operate, basically. And the biggest one is Big Pump Signal with 153,000 people. So that one's like probably the one with the biggest sway. There are other ones though that do have a fair amount of sway. So keep that in mind. The first one is like scanning for those groups. Second step would be to look potentially for borrowing and shorting, kind of different ways to get bearish exposure on asset while doing it safely and using DCA to get multiple limit orders in. And do not use it at a large amount of capital. Like if $10,000 in margin is like half of your crypto portfolio, please do not do that. If you're trying to short a pump and dump, you know, maybe you put out like $2,000, and of that $2,000, you margin it up to like 5K. And then you take a trade that way. And then if the price dumps like 50%, you know, and you're 5K short, you can make like 2.5 very quickly within like an hour or two. So the profit can still be quite good, but just you don't want your risk to get that high. So that's the second thing. Third thing you can do, let's say that it's a coin where you can't get any bearish exposure. You know, I can't short it, I can't borrow it, nothing I can do. The third thing you could probably look at is to try to scoop up the coin when a lot of people's stop losses get hit. This kind of thing can happen in two ways. One, some groups actually post their stop losses. So, hey, suggested stop loss range from 80 sat to 90 satoshis. You know that range is going to get targeted like every time it's going to get hit. If everyone's putting their stop losses there, price will gravitate there. It'll kill them all. That's one where you can put your limit orders near the bottom range of that stop loss range. The second thing is you can guesstimate where people's stop losses are. If 100,000 people see something and, you know, 20, 25K actually do it, and let's say a quarter of those guys actually do put stop losses, they're probably going to put them in pretty predictable areas. Right below big round numbers, right below local support. That's almost always what they're going to do. And then when you see that large sell volume spike, when it hits right below a round level or right below local support, you know that potentially a decent chunk of the crowd just got hunted. Okay? So that's the third thing that you can do to do this. So scan potential bearish exposure on a pump and dump so that you can take advantage of the dump phase, but you only want to do that after it begins dumping. You don't want to do that when it's pumping. Ugh, not a good idea. And then the third thing that you can do is potentially targeting people's stop losses. Not momentum ignition, but just targeting them and taking advantage of that when it gets hit. All right, guys, happy trading, and I'll see you guys in the next one.